Hello, welcome to Take the Black Live, the only show on the internet where we dare to cover things like Game of Thrones, television, the Star Wars, movies, Disney, revivals, Last Kingdom, medieval shows, sci-fi shows, fantasy shows, movies, and books, all in one place. I am Dan Selke, the editor at winteriscoming.net, and I am here with Mia Johnson of dorksideoftheforce.com. Mia, I have a question for you. It's a little sensitive, but I'm going to ask it. How are you today?
Wow. People don't ask that a lot these days, but I am doing pretty fine. It's a nice week, no complaints. How about you?
Well, it's getting colder, but I was like mourning the loss of warmth for like a couple of days, but after you kind of accept it, and I'm like, you know what? I like good in sweaters, so there are pluses.
Sweater time. Yeah. I went out to the grocery store yesterday and it was a little bit, like it was dark and a little rainy. I was like, I don't know how to dress for fall. I think I forgot. So it's like those building blocks now. I'm getting used to it again.
It has been a long year. It feels like forever ago since there was another fall. So I think that's part of the reason. Thanks to everybody tuning in. Hey, Julie. Hey, y'all. Hope you're enjoying Fire Cannot Kill a Dragon, the untold story of Game of Thrones, and the blah, 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 long subtitle. Hey, Kurt, the North does remember, and hello from Ohio to Brianna Collier. Thanks all for watching. This week is going to be a little, I don't know, there wasn't like a ton of news to go over, so we're going to go over some like quick hit, grab bag, smash and grab, little bullet point stuff. And I want us all to react to the news on a scale of 1 to 10, or also on a scale of white to green, whichever one of those you prefer. Okay. To some things that's going around in the entertainment industry. Right. First, news. Sorry, Mia, you had something to add. What's that?
The white to green kind of threw me off, but I think we should. I'm not asking any questions.
You could also do F to A, white to green, 1 to 10, or rhinoceros to meerkat, whichever you prefer.
All right.
Okay. First up, The Last Kingdom, Netflix show. Medieval Times, based on a sterling book series by Bernard Cornwell, Uhtred, son of Uhtred of Bebbanburg, The Adventures, very Game of Thrones-like, very medieval, very swords, very battles, very good now that I'm watching it. It is officially back in production, pre-production, on season 5. We have this little hint at the director of photography, the DP, putting up his little sign, his really illustrious nameplate there on his office. Anyway, that's just a sign that the show has been around for a while. It's gotten a big following by now, going into a 5th season. I keep waiting for it. I mean, I'm not sure it's ever going to be Game of Thrones size, but it definitely has developed a good reputation among its fan base. Yeah. And just like a really solid historical medieval drama that I'm liking a lot. So I'm excited about that. Mia, on a scale of platypus to Milky Way galaxy, how excited are you for season 5?
I'm going to have to rank it kind of towards the platypus. I'm, philosophically speaking, I think we're going from smallest to the most grandest. So, I didn't even know The Last Kingdom was like going into a 5th season. I hadn't even recognized it.
Yeah, of course.
Been on for that long. But that's kind of, I guess it's awesome to know that they're, eventually going to be back at it at some point. Should be exciting for fans.
Everything's so much slowing up because of coronavirus, but they are going back into business. And I mean, it's not stopping shows winning off the ground. For example, next quick hit. Okay, this is a little weird. Did you hear that Dexter, the friendly serial killer drama that ran on Showtime for, I think, 8 seasons, back in like the 2000s into 2013, is coming back. Showtime's bringing it back with Michael C. Hall back as his like serial killer, but he only kills other serial killers, so it's good. Kind of thing. Were you a fan of that at all when it was on or afterwards?
No, I also think I was too young for this when it came on. Sure. So when it was like whenever I heard Dexter, being me, even though I was older, I was like, are we talking about the Cartoon Network show? Are we talking about cartoons here? And I'm here. I see things like serial killer and all that. I was like, oh, that's not what I remember it is.
Like Dexter's Laboratory got dark in season 6. No, it's this.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was going to say that. I mean, it was a show on for 8 seasons. It had a big following. Okay, before Game of Thrones, this was the poster child for finale people hated. Like, I'm not kidding. People loathed the finale of Dexter, where he kind of retires from serial killing and becomes a lumberjack. I didn't actually watch I watched the first few seasons, but I didn't watch all the way through to the end. All I know is that folk hated it. If anybody out there watched and has feelings, feel free to tell us. But they're bringing it back. The showrunner from like the good years is coming back and said he wants to like make the ending right. Kurt never liked Dexter, which works out. And Julie likes Vikings. Last Kingdom's even better. I agree, Julie. I agree with you there. But yeah, I mean, that's, I don't know. I think it's a little, I don't know how you can, at some point, it's okay to just let things lie. I mean, I know we're living in an era of all these revivals and all these reboots, but I mean, good Lord, it hasn't even been gone a decade yet. Like, you could let it rest for a minute before you remake it. Although this is like a continuation with the original actor, Michael C. Hall, in the main role. Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know how because I didn't watch it, I can't per se, you know, be like, oh, this is a really great thing, or it's not so much. For the time being, I'm not completely against it, especially if they're trying to, you know, retread and kind of hopefully either recorrect or make better what had already happened in the past in that final season. But yeah, when I heard that I was coming back, I was like, did I miss something? Was this like already in the works? And it was just kind of like, boom, here's the announcement. Here it is. So yeah, lots of surprises. And I guess it has to come back on Showtime, right?
Yeah, we'd have to, unless they have other rights.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know, maybe they could do a Game of Thrones like straight sequel revival in a couple of years. Would anybody out there be interested in that? I don't know how I feel about that, honestly. I mean, as much as the finale did disappoint some, not all, there's also a good point to like kind of letting it be its own thing, but we'll see where that goes. As Kurt says, likes The Last Kingdom, definitely not GOT, but it's medieval filler for me. I feel the exact same way. I think it is like
filler.
Like, of all the shows on, I think that's one of like the top kind of Game of Thrones methadone treatments. Like, it's enough like the show in terms of setting, in terms of like kind of complicated character interaction, that you can actually, like, I get a bit of a Game of Thrones vibe from it. Whereas, even though I love The Mandalorian, I don't really get a Game of Thrones vibe from that, which is fine.
Yeah.
Let it be its own thing. And Dexter, though, I kind of agree with you, Julie. I mean, I watched some seasons. I didn't watch the whole thing. At some point, I was like, I'm going to get out of this, but peace. And apparently went downhill after that, so.
It was your influence. You were the one who dictated that.
I really am amazing. Okay, next quick hit. HBO is making a second season of The Outsider, which I really liked from this past, God, when was it? I think it was earlier this year, which feels like 18 years ago. The very measured, slow-paced, well-made Stephen King horror drama that found Academy Award winner, I think, right? Cynthia Evero, in the role of kind of like a socially awkward detective who tracks down a literal monster. Now, at the end, they kill it. So it's one of those questions where I'm like, how are you going to do a season 2? But I mean, Stephen King has literally 2 million books he's written. So some of them who have that character in them. So I'm sure they can find something.
Oh, so there is some sort of common thread despite it. Like, yeah, because when I heard you talk about it, I was like, oh, this sounds like it is, just kind of definitively ended. It's going the way of Watchmen, they're like one and done sort of thing. That is kind of interesting to me.
HBO's getting tricky lately with that because they did the Watchmen thing a one and done, and I thought they were like turning over a new leaf. The Outsider seemed very complete. Lovecraft Country seemed kind of complete until the last episode. But now apparently the Watchmen might have been the outlier.
That's funny. Which is to me, it's funny because I haven't watched The Outsider, so I can't say for sure.
It was good.
Like. Yeah, like, but does it like beg the, kind of have this necessity where it's like, oh, I love these characters so much that I need to see more of them? Because I definitely felt that way about Lovecraft Country. And I feel like Watchmen is probably that way too, where it's like you get all this established. Why stop here? So The Outsider is kind of, to me, a little weird. It's like, oh, I wouldn't have taken this as something where people are just like, begging to see more. But I won't deny, if they want a second season either.
I thought it was very good. I really liked Cynthia Avero's character a lot. And like, I don't watch a lot of horror like that much, but
Mhm.
there's some of it I enjoy, and I was like on the edge of my seat through that. And they did like leave a door open, which is fine. I'm into it.
Okay.
I'll watch another season, especially if she's in it. And Stephen King, it's all part of the Stephen King essence, where he
I
just
do have a question. When
go
it
ahead.
comes to horror, how does this compare to like Lovecraft Country?
It's more like it's a lot more tense. Like Lovecraft
Okay.
Country, like it was more about like the shock and like the kind of creativity for me of like the
Mhm.
visuals. There wasn't actually a whole lot of like I was disgusted watching Lovecraft Country sometimes. I wasn't really
Yeah.
scared that often. The Outsider kind of freaked me out. Like that is more like there's less gross blood and guts, but there's more tension and like, oh God, don't go in that room, don't go in that room, like that kind of thing.
Okay, so it's more like traditional horror. I think that was the reason I was able to watch Lovecraft Country is because it's like they had these horror moments, but overall, it did not feel like a horror television series to me.
No, it did not.
But you know what? It is Halloween season.
It is Halloween
Maybe
season.
I could give The Outsider a try, just in the spirit of Halloween.
I liked it. I think you might enjoy it. And as some comments on the Game of Thrones revival, Julie is bring back Game of Thrones. Time for revival, I think. No, now. Um, sure, why not? Although, as Kurt points out, House of the Dragon is coming back in 2022, Game of Thrones prequel. I don't think they'll be doing that quick, especially with the prequel on the way. But you know what? If the prequel fails horribly, then they're going to be on the phone to Sophie Turner and Maisie Williams like that, try to get something going. We'll talk about Love Country in a little more detail in a minute. As Kurt says, wasn't horror. The Outsider's definitely suspense or traditional is a good word. Yeah, I agree with you, Kurt. It was more. And I really enjoyed that. Just kind of the straightforwardness of the gruesome murder mystery tension. And we'll talk Lovecraft Country a little bit. Just I think one more quick hit. Isn't really fantasy or sci-fi, although actually kind of is. I have to mention they just announced. Yeah, you know it is that they're ending the Fast and the Furious franchise after it's been around since 2001.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's 8 movies out, another one on the way, at least one spin-off, an animated TV show, 2 more movies after that they're going to finish it up with. Okay, I wanted to mention this because I know how big it is. I know how hugely popular it is. I will admit, I haven't watched a single one. I just was never that interested.
Yeah.
Mia, do you have any opinions on this franchise? And
Hmm.
but it is historically,
Oh yeah, it's
that it's ending because it is
yeah.
enormous. People who haven't seen it. This franchise is like billions and billions of dollars, mostly
Yeah.
overseas for some reason. Because I guess like you don't need to like know the cultural specificity to understand like vroom vroom cars go fast.
Yeah.
It's like really been big there, and it's just kept on trucking, pun intended, for a long time. It's finally ending.
Yeah, I think this is Fast and the Furious time. I have not. I know, like my dad and brother have like watch every single one of those. Maybe for the
Really?
exception of like Hobbs and Shaw. I don't know if it's because they like it or they feel forced to watch it, or I don't know
By
why.
who? Who's forcing them?
I don't know, masculinity or something. I don't know. But I've only seen like bits and pieces of it, so I can't say for sure. Like I don't know. I have a weird relationship, I guess, with this franchise. I think mainly because, and I'm like staring at Vin Diesel's face in this photograph, because every time I see this and I see his acting, I'm like, who let this happen? I'm so serious. It's like the action plots are
There you go.
ridiculous. Cars are flying through the sky and you're making jumps that, like have no basis in physics whatsoever. So I can see why it's exciting, for the people who are just like, action, like, just lovers, all the
Action
way to a
hounds, sure.
T. But I'm like, I think it's time. I think it's time we lay it to rest. One funny story is that when I was in Universal Studios, this was 2 years ago, we went on the Fast and the Furious ride, which had just come out.
Cool.
And ironically enough,
Yes.
as we were trying to, enjoy the ride, it just like kept breaking down, which was already, I'm like, oh, the irony. And then it was still like so anticlimactic. It had, like it should have never been put in Universal Studios to begin with. And I'll die on that hill. It is an awful ride. Acting was equally as awful. And you can find the ride on YouTube. You'll get a great laugh out of it just by the acting alone.
It sounds like you hate the series, and I see what you're putting up.
Yeah.
Lots of Vin Diesel smiling at us and glowering
My-
sometimes faces. I mean, I know it's very big. I hope people who enjoy it get a kick out of the final two. I don't super care about it myself, and and you loathe it, but good show, Fast and Furious, as Kurt says.
The only thing I like out of it,
anything.
What is that, a euphemism? Oh, can make a car do? Yeah, he can. He certainly can. And they're going to space in one of the next ones. So
cars in space. See, like a spaceship car. That sounds pretty cool.
Star Wars crossover, so I might just have to cover it anyway.
Exactly. Veered away from the original premise, but cars and guns and action always win, says Kurt. Yeah, hard to say that.
The other thing, well, I'm continuously
just
storming on
slagging
this.
Fast and Furious, sure.
The video game that recently came out, another absolutely awful production, very low playthrough. Once again, Vin Diesel, 10 out of 10 actor on, or was he? Yeah, I think he was in it. And he's like the scene stealer, which says a lot about a video game in this franchise. So yeah, I know we're not a video game podcast, but I had to throw it out there because to me it's comedy. And I kind of just like watching the disaster that it is. And I won't say, you can get some good entertainment out of it. It's not like cinema with a capital C.
No.
Yeah, let me stop my rant out.
Talking about sweaters, look at that thing.
Oh man. Oh, is that the video game? Yes. It is something else. The gameplay is, I know. Yeah, the gameplay is something else, makes no sense. It's kind of boring, and it's like it took for whatever happened with this video game. It's like it could have been great. Like a Fast and Furious video game sounds awesome, but it just went down the toilet. So
all right, we are moving on Fast and the Furious.
Please, I will go on all night.
All right, I think let's see. Elon put a car in space, says Christian. Yes, Christian, but did he drag race it in space? I think that's
not the same.
What Fast and Furious can bring to it. The next thing I want to talk about, we want to talk about the finale of Lovecraft Country, which we both watched, we both enjoyed. Cool new series. Apparently they want a second season. And let's start this with a comment from Martin, because I think it taps into some of our feelings. Martin asks, anybody else think there was loads of Lovecraft Country and important parts at the left on the cutting room floor? Maybe time to read the book. Ooh. So, and as Kurt says, yes, Vin Diesel, you have a hater here.
Yeah, we're gonna be beefing.
He kind of does. Like he's gonna like show up outside your door this day. You're gonna hear like the suspensors on like a really loud car going by.
He's gonna be blasting his song that he came out with.
Oh, it's a good one. Anyway, before we get any
please
deeper, what did you think of the Lovecraft Country finale, full circle?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wow, the Lovecraft finale. I'll say off the bat that I was not overly impressed, and it hurts me to say that I was not overly impressed with it. I don't know what it kind of fell victim to, maybe perhaps having so much going on that it felt like a really abrupt ending, maybe a little bit of a dissatisfying ending. But yeah, I think that out of the 10 episodes, it had stronger episodes throughout the series than the finale, which that usually doesn't happen. Usually finales, well, maybe not Dexter or, Game of Thrones or something like that, but usually a good finale, you end it very strong. And I just didn't have that feeling this time.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and agree with you. I think Julie said earlier that she really loved it, so we'd love to hear from you, Julie. But the ending specifically, it seemed very kind of short. And I definitely had a feeling of, is that it? Like, I kept waiting for a sort of like post-credit stinger to maybe tell me what happened to the gang on their summer vacation. Like, what happened to people after that? Like, the show has been really consistently creative. Like, every episode kind of brought me something new. I never knew what I was going to watch. Like, one episode was the haunted house one, then it was the Indiana Jones ripoff, and then it was the body horror, and then it was the Korean War kind of excursion. I keep going, but the point is, it did a great job of like really keeping me on my toes. And I don't know, like the ending, I wanted some resolution for a lot of the characters, for Montrose, Hippolyta, for Dee, for Letty, and it just sort of ends. It sort of ends with the villain is dead, and the person that I kind of least suspected to kill her kills her.
Yeah.
Should we just spoil it? I don't know. Let's try not to. And I was left with a little like, oh, you want a season 2, don't you? It's like, that's the only reason I can think why they would kind of end it that abruptly and not give me sort of the resolution I needed.
Yeah.
Like, they have to know we would have wanted that.
Yeah, it's a weird leave them wanting more in a way that they don't necessarily set up a cliffhanger. Like, honestly, if it had ended on episode 9 with the intention of like knowing there's going to be a season 2, I'd be like, wow, that was a great finale. But the way that it ended, to me,
Sure.
I think the problem was it had all these, magic side plots that were really kind of, to me, clunking up the overall plot. Like, talking with my hands here, but I think that was something that it was like part of the script. I've been saying they played fast and loose with the magic and the rules of the magic. No, please don't. And so to me, a lot of it just didn't make sense throughout the whole series. And like all of a sudden, it's like now this is like legit a part of the ending and of the season closer. And to me, the stakes kind of felt low by that point, because I was like, wait, what do we, how does this magic work? Can Atticus really just like avoid it? Does he really need to die? Does he? None of that stuff was set up in the beginning up until kind of the last moment. So that to me is where it felt flat as far as payoffs.
Yeah, the magic stuff was always kind of a bit of a weak point. And, I've decided I want to spoil things a little bit because I do want to complain or praise some of the specific points. And Christian just asked a question that I'm wondering myself. So I'm going to start spoiling Lovecraft Country in 3, 2, 1. Okay, Christian asks, Dee's last words to Christina made it sound like she knew more about her entire life. Was it Dee or someone in Dee's body? Yeah, like Dee, who'd never met Christina, so far as I know, is the one to kill her. And it seems pretty personal. She's like, you still haven't learned. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, A, why aren't you like with a babysitter in Chicago instead of going on this trip? And B, what? Like,
yeah.
Haven't learned what? And why is no one minding you?
Yeah, I was wondering what she was doing out on her own in the first place, because they did leave her in the car. And then for plot reasons, she decided to take a walk and found Christina laying under the rubble, Cersei Lannister style. And,
I don't think it's someone else in Dee's body. I think Dee just kind of turned into a cold-blooded, robot-armed killed girl.
Yeah.
Off screen.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird. And to me, I said this in our Lovecraft Country Chronicles podcast as well. To me, it was a little dark to have a child, she no more than a teenager strangle a woman, with a robotic arm. I thought it was kind of dark. Maybe it was just dark to me. But yeah, I think Kurt did say it was a dope shot. It was a dope shot.
Oh, the show always looks tremendous, and its individual bits are always really, really good. Like I love the bit where Christina's like, the cutting open the wrist was gross, but I did love her like bathing in Atticus's blood, like a waterfall going out of his wrists, and like going full like Carrie, like horror icon, laughing in the moonlight, crazy person. The show does mood really, 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 really well. Yeah. I just don't think like when you stop to think about it, I kind of going like, wait, what?
Yeah, Kurt says she was filled with vengeance from Emmett being killed and that spell being put on her. Yeah, in a way, maybe it's like because they made that line about, magic being bound or taken away from all white people. So I don't know. And I don't want this to be controversial or anything either. Maybe they're like trying to put all of, history, all of white history on Christina, kind of like how all of Black history was put on Atticus because now magic was in Black people's hands. But still to me, it kind of seems like, well, Lancaster is the one who put the curse on her. Christina honestly helped her. And then what was the other thing? Emmett, like, which is this bad to say, like, yeah, technically Christina did not kill Emmett Till either.
She didn't care either, though. Look,
But she, right, I was also going to mention that
Christina's
she
better
didn't
off
care.
dead. I mean, it's not like you want her alive.
To me, it was still just kind of, it felt to me like something, maybe, you know, the vengeance comes because she did end up killing Atticus. So I can see that. And sort of all those things kind of surmount to it being like, you killed my cousin, now I'm going to kill you. So as I think about it, it kind of makes more sense in that regard.
I guess I just wanted more wind down, I guess. Like what happened on the boat.
Yeah.
Again, if it happens in season 2, that they can do that. As Kurt says, they shouldn't do a season 2. It's going to be a weird storyline. They shot all the magic out. Tick is dead, and the only person left is his son. So there aren't any more villains, my opinion. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, if they have a season 2, I'm going to guess they're going to introduce some new folk. Bring in, I mean, weren't there like 18,000 chapters or something, or like 100 magic chapters? Bring in another one.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can think of something, but yeah, I don't know. I think it could have been stronger, but I wish them the best if they want to try. And I mean, like, look, the finale of Game of Thrones season 1, like that was a season 1 finale. There was a lot more show to go, but that still felt like, wow, hot damn cool ending. Like that's Daenerys. Her dragons are born, and it's for the first time they like got on her shoulder, and it was like a whoa, bring season 2 right now. This was more, huh? And I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what they would do for season 2, because they split from the book kind of midway through, and Christina being a new-ish character was part of that, and so the ending between the book and the series finale was very completely different, and so now it's kind of like they don't really have that book material either to use as a reference point. But I don't know, they created their own world anyway, so I think now that they've got this authority, you know, they know what their world is about, maybe tighten up the, you know, the rules of magic a little bit, and then they can kind of move on with season 2 based on their own ideas. But yeah, I still have a hard time picturing what that can mean and what, you know, the ramifications of everything that happened would be.
I'm sure they seem more than creative enough to invent something. So good on you, Misha Green. Keep on trucking again. We just cannot get away from Fast and the Furious today. I don't know why.
Wait, what?
Trucking, get it? Because cars and motorists.
Oh, you shouldn't have said that.
All right. Before we go to our little final segment, I wanted to advise you all that we are available on iTunes, Google Play, wherever podcasts are sold. If you want to listen to us in podcast form, you can do that. And you can also leave a review if you feel like it on iTunes, giving us 18,000 stars for money are available. So we can spread our message of joy, peace, and hating Fast and Furious throughout the internet, wherever ears are there. All right, finally, just to have some Game of Thrones in this thing, I wanted to draw your attention to a new book coming out. I believe, November 3rd, so quite quickly. A Storm of Swords, the illustrated edition, which is a new... A Storm of Swords is the 3rd book in A Song of Ice and Fire, George R. R. Martin's fantasy book series. It's the best one, if you ask me. Like, that's the one where Daenerys burns down Astapor, which is a little weird in retrospect, I guess. You know what she does. It's the one where Joffrey dies at his own wedding. It's the one with the red wedding. It's like the one where Jaime gives his tearful bathtub speech about killing the king. It's like the Game of Thrones book. And Gary Gianni, a very talented artist, is putting out these really, really cool new illustrations here. Love that. And that's Daenerys burning down Astapor. Looking badass on her horse. Looking great. I think there's also one of the Red Wedding. Yeah, there's Catelyn. There's Walder Frey in the background. She's very upset, holding the knife to his fool. In the show, it was his wife. In the book, it's his court jester. Just a little bit. Really, really cool. Like, these things have been very nice. They put out illustrated editions of the first 2 books already. They're doing the 3rd one. And, they're beautiful. If you haven't read the books yet, great place to start, because who doesn't like pictures? And if you have read them and just want to do it with pretty pictures, now is your chance. A Storm of Swords, the illustrated edition, comes out November 3rd. Hope you enjoy. Mia, anything else that you want to bring up before we sign off today?
Oh gosh.
Anything
You
you're
know
watching?
what? I saw the news about Jared Little coming back
Mm-hmm.
for Snyder Cut. If you thought my Vin Diesel rant was bad, hold on to your hats. No.
Oh, do you hate Jared Leto too?
After finding out what he did back when they were shooting Suicide Squad, when he was like being like way too in character and sending his castmates dirty things, that's where I had to draw the line. I thought it was completely unprofessional, and I was like, why would you ever want to work with this guy again? I don't know.
Like what Robert Pattinson said about that kind of thing. Like, you only hear people saying, I'm staying in character when they're being like awful. Like, you never hear someone like, oh, I'm in character, I have to be happy and pleasant all the time. No, it's always like as an excuse for something really terrible they did. I'm just in character. Like, no, be an actor. You're playing the guy when the camera's on, and then be like a human being when it's off. How about that?
Yeah. So I'm very surprised. I wasn't even a fan of that Joker iteration in the Suicide Squad to begin with.
Call it the meth teeth hot topic Joker.
Yeah, it was. I didn't like it, and I'm glad they cut his scenes. And I really don't know what the need to bring him back and the Justice League Snyder Cut could be. So I don't know if that makes me more curious to see it or more adverse and just being like, I don't need this in my life anymore.
It sounds like Zack Snyder is taking the opportunity to make a grand, sprawling, everything plus the kitchen sink kind of movie that, frankly, usually it sounds like it's going to be an overreaching, kind of indulgent mini disaster, or it's a completely brilliant, epic that will end superhero movies. I don't think it's going to be between those things. I have a hard time believing it's going to be like solidly middle of the road at this point with all the things you're bringing in. Like, I think Jonathan Kent is going to be in there too somehow. Kevin Costner is going to come back, is the hint. That's just a rumor. He said, he gave one of those like, well, I can't tell you anything, which is like, when you don't say no, I'm basically taking it as a yes.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be either god awful and just way too much, or it's going to be wonderful. Is, I think, like the two options it has at this point.
Yeah, there is no in between.
As for me, I enjoyed The Boys so much, the second season, that I'm going back and watching the first now.
Yay! Ta-da!
That was good enough. How about you? Did you ever finish it?
No, I'm so slow. This is how I work. This is how I function. So slowly but surely, I will get to the end.
Fair enough. I've got to finish Schitt's Creek up too. That was when I kind of fell off.
Yeah.
Like, folk keep telling me to stick with it, and it gets really good. So I'm going to trust them.
And I've got on my list, I need to rewatch The Mandalorian. Only 8 episodes, so I can fully be prepared for next week. So.
Yeah, next week we'll do a big preview of some of the big shows coming down the pipeline the next few months. And there are some good ones. And then nothing, because coronavirus will kick in around then. So thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you here at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time every Wednesday on the Winners Coming Facebook page. Otherwise, we're available on the YouTube. We are available in podcast forms, mentioned Google Play, iTunes, etc., and so forth. Give us a like, give us a share, give us a listen, like and subscribe, etc., and so forth. People love saying that. And ring the bell. And we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody. Happy watching.
Bye.